Indianapolis, Indiana, a city that breeds basketball, lives basketball, and once again hosts the biggest weekend in college sports, the Final Four. Greetings from our Temecula studios. I'm Ryder Bullock. This is the Final Four. This is what we started just a few weeks ago. A month ago, to be exact, 68 teams had a chance to be here tonight. And then there were four: Michigan, Arizona, Illinois, UConn. Four programs that opened the season with talent, with potential, and with questions. And over the past 3 weeks, each of them has answered every one of them. We'll break down both national semifinal matchups tonight. Michigan taking on Arizona, Illinois taking on Connecticut. But first, let's take a closer look at how each team arrived in that town. Only one of these programs, UConn, began the season inside the top four of the AP poll. Michigan was 7th, Arizona 13th, Illinois 17th. But basketball seasons aren't decided in November. They're built through chemistry, through identity, and through the kind of growth that only March can reveal. And each of these four teams earned their place by becoming the very best at something essential. We'll start with Arizona. They are the balanced team. They arrive in Indianapolis as perhaps the most balanced team left. Top 10 in both offense and defensive efficiency, and coming off an Elite Eight win where 8 different Wildcats scored. Tommy Lloyd's group doesn't only rely on the three-point line, they rely on depth, on defense, that pressure, and on the confidence that their top 8 can match up with anyone in the country. And so far, they've been right. Michigan, the best defense in America? Perhaps. Michigan enters the Final Four as the nation's best defensive team, ranked number 1 in adjusted defensive efficiency, and built around a front court that looks like it was designed in a laboratory. 6'9", 6'9", 7'3". In their Elite Eight win over Tennessee, the Wolverines outscored the Vols by 23 points in the final 10 minutes of the first half, a stretch that completely flipped the game. Last spring, Dusty May didn't even know what his roster would become. Tonight, he's coaching for a chance to join the greatest teams in Michigan history. How about the Connecticut Huskies, the Empire with experience? UConn comes to Indianapolis looking to etch its place in history. Only John Wooden's UCLA teams have ever won 3 national titles in 4 years, and Dan Hurley's Huskies have a chance to match that accomplishment. This roster isn't the most star-studded left in the field, but it's the most experienced. 3 starters with multiple seasons in Hurley's system. A culture built on toughness, consistency, and trust. Down 19 against Duke in the Elite Eight, they never panicked. They simply settled in and made necessary adjustments and closed the game like champions. And that's easier said than done, but it's very easy when you have Mr. Indiana basketball, Mullins from Greenfield, Indiana. What a man, what a play, and what a finish. Illinois, the best offense in the country? Perhaps. Illinois arrives with the best offensive engine in college basketball, number 1 in adjusted offense efficiency for nearly the entire season. Since March 1st, they've shot nearly 60% inside the arc, and they do it with a lineup built from all over the world: Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, Greece, and the United States. Brad Underwood's team combines size, skill, and pace in a way few opponents can match. They protect the rim, pressure the backcourt, and win with firepower or with defense when the moment demands it. 4 teams, 4 identities, 4 different paths to Indianapolis, and now each of them is 1 win away from playing for the national championship. Let's zoom in on tonight's national semifinals. We begin tonight in Indianapolis with Illinois and UConn, two teams that have evolved into mirror images of efficiency and toughness. Illinois arrives with one of the most explosive offenses in the nation, a group that scores in waves and refuses to slow down. The Fighting Illini are 16-6 in the Big Ten and average 83 and 8 points per game, second in the conference. They shoot 46.4% from the field, led by Keaton Wagler and his 17.9 points and 4.3 assists per game, along with David McCorvick, who has averaged nearly a double-double over the last 10. When they play fast and free, very few teams can match their tempo. UConn answers with discipline. The Huskies are 33-5 and 19-4 in the Big East, built on precision and ball movement. They lead their league with 18.4 assists per game, guided by Silas Demery Jr. and his 5.9 a night. Terrence Reed Jr. has been incredibly efficient at 62% shooting. And how about Alex Karabin continuing to provide constant scoring? Over the last 10 games, the Huskies are allowing just 62.9 points per contest. Their defensive structure forces opponents out of rhythm, and their patience on offense marks them difficult to speed up. One of the defining numbers in this matchup, Illinois is shooting 46.4% on the season, while UConn opponents are making just 40.5% of their attempts. Something will have to give tonight. These two met back in late November, with UConn winning 74-61, but that was months ago. Both sides have evolved dramatically. Tonight's rematch comes with far more at stake, and both teams arrive believing they can control the game on their terms. Later tonight, Arizona and Michigan brings us a heavyweight semifinal. Two teams that have lived in the national spotlight all season long. Arizona enters at 36-2 with a dominant 19-2 record in the Big 12 and a perfect 17-0 outside the league. They move the ball beautifully, averaging 16.7 assists per game. Braden Burries leads them at 16.1 points, while Koa Pete has surged down the stretch. Over their last 10 games, the Wildcats are unbeaten, scoring more than 84 points per contest and shooting over 50% from the field. Arizona spaces the floor, attacks mismatches, and simply overwhelms opponents with balance. Michigan counters with size, efficiency, and a level of consistency that has produced a 35-3 record and a 21-2 mark in the Big Ten. The Wolverines are 28-0 in games decided by 10 points or more. When they impose their will, they do it empathetically. Michigan shoots at an incredible 51.1% from the field, with Yaxel Lindenberg stretching defenses and Mare finishing at a remarkable 67% over his last 10 outings. They defend with length, they rebound with force, and they operate with a calmness that comes from knowing exactly who they are. So the defining matchup stat here is Michigan shoots 51%, while Arizona allows opponents to shoot just 39.2%. Once again, the elite offense meets elite defense. Both teams arrive playing their best basketball. Both are capable of winning the title, and both understand the magnitude of this moment. More on these games in a moment, but first, here's what's happening in college basketball. South Carolina and UCLA punched their tickets to the women's national championships last night, and they did it in completely different ways, but both of them earned it. Sunday they meet for the title. Should be a terrific matchup. First of all, South Carolina, they shocked UConn, stunned them. Ended a 54-game winning streak. That does not happen to UConn basketball. I don't care if it's men's, women's, intramurals. UConn doesn't walk into a Final Four and put up 48 points. But South Carolina made them look ordinary. They took those stars. Sarah Strong goes 4 for 16. AZ Fudd has 8 points and completely took them out of the game. And remember, UConn came in 38-0, defending champs, heavy favorites to win the thing again. I picked them, and then you get the nonsense at midcourt at the end. Gino and Don Staley jawing at each other, completely unnecessary. totally beneath a program like UConn. I mean, come on, Gino. You are a class act. You didn't show it last night. Meanwhile, UCLA, here's a team that won 30 straight games, one loss all year back in November to Texas, and they repay that favor on Friday night. Lauren Betts, tremendous, absolutely tremendous. 16 points, 11 boards, 3 assists, 3 blocks. She carried that team. Everybody else couldn't throw it in the ocean. But Betts, she was the difference. Her numbers this tournament, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 70% shooting. That's superstar production. Now, let's be real. The offense overall Friday night was not great. Not great at all. Texas and UCLA go into halftime 20-17. 3 first-team All-Americans, Strong, Fudd, Booker, all have miserable nights. Defense is ahead of offense right now in the women's game, no question about that. Officials let the physicality go, though. Bodies flying all over the place. It's going to look ugly sometimes. Then Saturday, Gino puts out the apology, says he wants, to be forgiven, and I think we will forgive him. He says he was emotional, says it wasn't who he is, doesn't want to take away from how well South Carolina played. That's fine, good, but let's not kid ourselves. Friday night was a really bad look, and Dawn Staley, she handled it. She didn't bite. She didn't turn it into a circus. She focused on one thing, and that's winning another national title. And by the way, saying she'd beat Gino's ass. That was elite television. So here's where we are. South Carolina going for a 4th national championship, 3rd in 5 years. Absolutely dynasty stuff. UCLA trying to win their first ever national title, riding a 30-game heater, playing with unbelievable confidence. Sunday should be terrific, but Friday night, that belonged to South Carolina and UCLA, and it belonged to Dawn Staley and Lauren Betts. Gino, not one of his finer moments, classic Final Four drama, exactly what you want this time of year. Let's move on. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order, yes, an executive order, that basically steps in and tries to tell college sports how long athletes can play and how often they can transfer. I mean, folks, this is unprecedented stuff. The order says athletes get 5 years total, that's it. 1 transfer without penalty. 1. After that, you got to sit. And if a school doesn't follow this, they could lose federal funding. That's a big hammer to swing. Huge. And remember, the NCAA didn't write this. The White House did. The order also tells the NCAA to build some kind of national agent registry and forces schools to protect scholarships in women's and Olympic sports so they don't get cut to make payroll for football and basketball. In theory, fine. But the mechanism, that's where this gets complicated. The White House puts out the statement, college sports can't function without clear rules. Pay for play is chaos. Courts keep blowing everything up, etc. And listen, they aren't wrong about the chaos. But in executive order, that's where the lawyers come in. And boy, do they come in fast. Multiple attorneys already saying this thing is unconstitutional, unforeseeable. That may be true. If anyone challenges it, it will probably get tossed. And the NCAA, Charlie Baker says he hasn't read the whole thing, but from the pieces he's seen on social media, that's Facebook, X, Twitter, all that stuff, he says a lot of it lines up with what they've been discussing with Congress, and says they still need Congress to seal the deal. Baker says the NCAA can't fix all of this alone. They need federal help. But again, they've needed federal help for probably 5 or 6 years, if they're being honest. And Congress hasn't passed anything, not one bill. And Trump, he even admitted weeks ago he knows he'll get sued over this. He's tried pulling federal funds from universities before. It hasn't worked. The judges block it every time. Harvard, you remember that case, anti-Semitism order. Same thing, blocked. Look, Trump has been saying for a while he wants to help college sports get its footing back. He brought in a bunch of college leaders to the White House in March, told them he'd write an order that would solve every problem in the room. Big promises, huge promises. And look, this is his second try. The first one back in 2025 did absolutely nothing. Now the underlying problem here is simple. The NCAA has no authority anymore. The Supreme Court's 2021 ruling ended that, said you're not exempt from antitrust laws. Since then, transfers wide open, NIL wide open, waivers everywhere, lawsuits everywhere. It's been the Wild West. This new order tries to put all the toothpaste back in the tube, but without Congress, it's probably not happening. The SCORE Act keeps getting delayed. Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell are trying to build a bipartisan bill in the Senate, but they're miles apart on whether athletes should be employees. And I'm going to speak with Ted Cruz at the California Republican Convention later on this week. That's a big topic that him and I are going to talk about. That's the big fight right now, though. Cantwell comes out and basically says, good, let's use this to push Congress to act. But she also wants revenue sharing, employment structures, none of which Trump's order addresses, touches, any of that. So the bottom line here is this. This order creates headlines. It does not create stability, not yet anyway. Courts will get involved. Congress hasn't passed anything, and yet the NCAA is just hoping anybody, gives them rules they can actually enforce. Will this change college sports? Maybe, but not right now, not today, not next season, and probably not anytime soon if we're being honest. It is a short, it's a shot across the bow, really, nothing more. Classic big move, big noise, but no guarantee it sticks. We'll see where it goes. But folks, this story is far from finished. To some happy news now. Cameron Boozer wins the AP National Player of the Year as Duke freshman. The kid everyone's been talking about. He was at the center of everything for Duke this season, and folks, he earned it. This kid, 6'9", 250 pounds, plays like a grown man, and Duke ran everything through him. Physical scoring, outside shooting, passing out of double teams. He did all of it. You need points, he gave you points. You need playmaking, he ran the offense like he'd been there 3 years. You just want to affect winning, he says, and he did over and over. Duke wins 35 games, hits number 1 in the country, gets the top overall seed, reaches the Elite Eight, and Boozer is the engine behind the whole thing. That's why he became only the 5th freshman ever to win this AP award, second straight for Duke. Rare company. He gets 59 of 61 votes. That tells you the vote wasn't close. He averages 22 and 10, shoots 56%, nearly 40% from 3. 22 double-doubles. That's not normal for a freshman. That's superstar stuff. He joins Flag, Zion, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, all top 2 NBA picks, and Boozer, he's next, no question. And the maturity that stands out to me more than anything, talks about gratitude, talks about team success. He understands the big picture. Coaches rave about him. Carrawell says Duke just had 2 of the best freshmen in college basketball back-to-back. He's not wrong. You look at the performance, 35 on Arkansas, 29 on UConn, dominated Michigan State, nearly triple doubles Michigan, and finishes the season with one eye swollen shut after taking a shot, but still dropped 27 on UConn. And that's toughness. That's pressure. And yeah, he had off nights, that 3 for 17 against Virginia in the ACC title game, but he flushes it, moves on. That's what pros do. His twin brother says he's been built like that forever. He decompresses, prays, reads, gets away from the noise. Then he goes right back to work, watches film, prepares, because he knows what confidence is built on. He sums it up perfectly. Pressure is what you put on yourself. Bottom line here, the headline is right. Cameron Boozer is the best player in college basketball this year, a star, a winner, a pro in everything but contract, and that will change this summer when he gets drafted, I would assume, in the top 5, if not number 1. And Duke, let me tell you about Duke real quick. Duke does not come close to this season without having him. They do not make, I don't think they're the number 1 seed. I don't think they are in the Elite 8. There. Okay, moving on to another award. Fred Holberg, the hometown guy, the mayor, the NBA veteran. He is your AP Coach of the Year after a 28-win season and Nebraska's first NCAA tournament win ever and a run all the way to the Sweet 16. And let me tell you, this did not happen overnight. This wasn't some miracle season that came out of the sky. This was years in the making. Hoburg came in, inherited a mess, went 14-45 in his first 2 seasons. Most guys don't survive that. Nowadays you'd probably buy him out, but he stuck with it. Nebraska stuck with it. He built it. He got the right players, the right style, the right identity, and it all clicked. He gets 17 votes, edge out John Shire, Tommy Lloyd right behind him. And think about that. This is the first Big Ten coach to win the award since Juwan Howard. Nebraska, a school that, let's be honest, everybody calls a football school, not this year. They win 26 games before March Madness even starts. They win 15 games in the Big Ten. A school record, by the way. They start the season 20-0. They hit number 5 in the country. The place is packed every night. The fan base is electric, and it's because Hoburg built something people believe in. And he said it himself. He was about getting the right players. Bryce Sanford shooting the lights out. Rennick Mass doing everything at center. Sam Hoburg, his own son, running the show. They fit. They played fast. They defended. They were tough. Then they got to the tournament. And they finally, after 9 tries, win a game, blow out Troy, get to the Sweet 16. Sure, they lose to Iowa, but the impact is already made. The foundation is cemented. And you talk about roots. This guy was born in Lincoln. His parents went to Nebraska. One grandfather coached the team. The other taught at the school. He is a Nebraskan as Nebraskan gets. And he left to play at Iowa State, went to the NBA, coached there, came back home, and resurrected a program that had been dead for decades. This place means a lot to me, he says, and you know what? It shows. Shire, by the way, second place, a fantastic year at Duke, number 1 seed, adjust the whole system, run through Cameron Boozer. Tommy Lloyd, 9 weeks at number 1 and a Final Four. But Hoburg, he earned this. Fred Hoburg didn't just win games. He changed what people thought Nebraska basketball could be. This is one of the best coaching jobs in the country in a long, long time. That is what's happening in college basketball. And the big story is the Final Four. It is here, folks. Indianapolis, Saturday night. 4 teams left standing. And I'll tell you what, it's about to be a slugfest. You got UConn, Illinois, Arizona, Michigan. Top 3 seeds, all deserving to be here. But only 2 are moving on to Monday night, where they will be blue ring chasing in Lucas Oil Stadium. I'll walk you through it. My takes, X's and O's, a little bit of all of that, and the gut, the intensity of what's about to happen. So first up, UConn and Illinois coming your way at 6:09 p.m. Eastern Time. UConn, the Huskies, you know the story. They've had the experience, the composure. Dan Hurley's teams are always well coached, but this one, it's different. They got Terrace Reed Jr., and I'll tell you, this kid's playing like Will Chamberlain out there. In March, 31 points, 27 rebounds in the first round. I've been around basketball a long time. I've seen a lot of big men, and Reed is a guy who can take over a game inside and out. But here's the thing. UConn is not perfect. Solo ball has been cold lately, 8.5 points a game in March, down from 14. That's huge because when ball is hitting, UConn's offense is clicking. And then there's Braylon Mullins, Mr. Indiana basketball. That kid hits a dagger 3 against Duke with 0.4 seconds left. Do you know the pressure in that moment? I've been in pressure situations in sports. You want the ball in your hands. That's when Mullins delivers. Illinois, though, you're not messing around. Brad Underwood has turned this team's defense into something elite. They held Houston, Iowa, top offenses to under 1.1 points per possession. They protect the rim. They play length. They're tough. If Reed gets in foul trouble, if UConn can't get to the free throw line, which they struggle with, Illinois has a big edge. But here's the wild part about this. Illinois relies on the three-pointer, and it's March. Anything can happen with the three ball. They went 3 for 17 from 3 in the Elite Eight. One night like that in Indianapolis, and they're toast. So my X factor is Reed. If he dominates, UConn wins this game. If he's limited, Illinois can sneak one. And I'll tell you, the edge is in experience. UConn's been here before. That matters. Next up, Arizona and Michigan, approximately 8:49 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is going to be a physical game. Koa Pete for Arizona, 6'8", or 6'8", excuse me. Koa Pete is 6'8", 235 pounds, a man of a man. He's been terrific down the stretch, scoring inside, grabbing rebounds. He's the key for the Wildcats. If he's rolling, Arizona's tough to beat. But if the Wildcats don't shoot threes, I mean, they're 363rd in the country in the three-point attempt rate, so it's all about what happens inside. And getting to the line, Michigan, though, I've watched these guys. They're big, they're versatile, and their Elite 8 game against Tennessee was unbelievable. They went on a 33-10 run in the first half, totally flipped the script. They can play transition like nobody else with that size. They can run the floor, and Lindenberg, you got to mention him. He's an All-American, and he's the one who can create shots off the bounce. Morris Johnson Jr. has to roam the floor, defend every gap, cover every mismatch. This is not a normal big man matchup. It's a chess match in the paint. Here's what I'm telling you. It's going to come down to points in the paint. Points in the paint. Arizona dominates inside. Michigan defends inside. Arizona tries to push Michigan away from the basket. Michigan tries to force Arizona to shoot from the perimeter. Whoever controls the paint controls the game. And don't forget transition. Michigan loves it. Arizona has to survive it. The X factor is Pete and Lindenberg. One of these guys needs a high-level performance, and the game swings on it. You're talking about 6 projected first-round NBA picks between these teams. It's going to be all physical, all effort, and all intensity. My gut, what to watch Saturday night, UConn versus Illinois, is Reed in the paint, ball finding his shot, Mullins delivering a dagger. Illinois has length. The three-point game has to fall. Tight margins. A 2-point game is likely. Arizona versus Michigan. Paint points, rebounds, transitions. Whoever asserts dominance inside first controls tempo. Pete versus Michigan's front court is huge. Lindenberg versus Arizona's perimeter is huge. This is March Madness, folks. Anything can happen. The Final Four has brought upsets, crazy runs, buzzer beaters. It's what we love. But if you want to pick who's moving on, Reed and UConn have the edge in experience and composure. Arizona versus Michigan, it's going to be a war inside, and that's what makes this Final Four the kind of basketball I live for. You remember these games. You talk about the shots, the plays, the dominance inside, the heart, because that's what the NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament is all about. So this one is loaded. You've got chalk, you got dominance, you got blue blood coaching, and you've got teams that have been beating people by double digits for 3 straight weeks. You don't get this often. You got to go all the way back to 1973 to see 3 teams steamroll a bracket like this. So let's dive in. Early games. Illinois, the Fighting Illini. Connecticut, UConn, Huskies, 6:09 p.m. Indianapolis. Listen, UConn is not last year's champion, okay? Right? They fell short. We were hoping for a three-peat last year, and they fell short. That falling short has ignited a spark in Connecticut. It's lighted a spark in Dan Hurley. So this is a new group, a group trying to push a dynasty forward. And they've got the most dominant player left in the tournament, Terrace Reed Jr. This kid is a monster, averaging 22 and 14 in the tournament. He opens with 31 and 27 against Furman, dominates Boozer of Duke like he's swatting a fly, and changes shots, erases possessions. If he plays tonight at full strength, people will start talking about all-time tournament runs. Illinois, though, is no joke. 2 massive Ivisic brothers, 7-1 and 7-2, are going to try to make Reed uncomfortable. And Illinois' three-point shooting, it's been cold lately. They can't rely on threes to win. UConn, they don't need to shoot lights out from deep. Inside is where this game lives. If Reed dominates the paint, opens lanes, creates and draws some fouls, UConn could advance. But if Illinois neutralizes him, watch for the upset. Keys to the game. Reed's minutes and foul trouble. 30-plus without fouls favors UConn. Perimeter shooting, Illinois needs threes to have a chance. Inside control, UConn edges the paint. Illinois must disrupt Reed. Tonight's pick, UConn edges Illinois. Expect a hard-fought game, not a blowout, but a hard-fought game. Nightcap, Arizona Wildcats, Michigan Wolverines, 8:49 p.m. approximately in Indianapolis. The heavyweight fight. Arizona was number 1 for 9 straight weeks. Looked untouchable until Michigan knocked them off. Michigan comes in averaging 95 points per game in the tournament, the highest since Kentucky in 93. This game is about the paint, folks. Forget the guards for a second. This is a battle of front courts. Arizona's a lead inside, top 5 in the paint, top 3 in free throws, top 10 in offensive rebounds. They bully every possession. Michigan is just as dominant, though. Second in 2-point field goal percentage. Third in 2-point field goal defense. Massive front court. They crash everything. The defense maker tonight is Koa Pete. When he's on, Arizona is nearly untouchable. Michigan needs him quiet to survive. The perimeter is huge. It is huge. Okay? Michigan's guards can shoot 37% or better from their 4 guys. If they do that, Arizona can't pack the paint. If Michigan goes cold, Arizona lives inside. Whoever wins the perimeter wins the paint. Whoever wins the paint wins the game. Keys to the game. Paint domination, front court presence from both sides. Pete's performance, Arizona rides him. Michigan must contain perimeter shooting. Controls paint access and tempo. Tonight's pick, slightly leaning to Michigan. They've been dominant. They're deep. And this game could be a classic. Can Michigan drop 100? They've done it a few times in this tournament. Looking forward to seeing what they can do, as this is going to be a classic. Expect a war inside and out. Bottom line, Illinois versus UConn. If Reed stays healthy and active, UConn moves on. Arizona and Michigan, total war in the paint. Michigan has a slight edge, but it's a toss-up. If you're betting or just watching for basketball heaven, this Final Four delivers everything you could want. Size, speed, defense, offense, and storylines we will be talking about for years. So, just for finality, I like UConn and Michigan to be blue ring chasing on Monday night. That will do it for me. We will see you at the halftime. Games on TBS, TNT, True TV, and streaming on HBO Max.